Hello, everybody. My name's Cameron Roberts. I'm the Digital and Community Editor here at MASH Media. Today, we're going to find out a little bit more about the emerging popularity of the omni-channel approach. With events businesses becoming more digitally native during the pandemic, I want to know more about how digital platforms and live events can interact and complement one another. To that end, I'm joined by Julien Schmetz, who is the Senior Consultant at JWC. Julien has done extensive research into the omni-channel philosophy, even doing his thesis on a similar topic, I believe, for his master's. How are you today, Julien?
Good. How are you, Cameron?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Just to kind of kick things off, to dive right in, broad strokes, kind of top level, in the simplest way possible, can you just explain to me what the omni-channel method is?
Sure. So in its simplest version, omnichannel concepts refer to how to integrate digital and physical elements within one consistent customer journey. So how to actually integrate your legacy, your traditional business model with all the new digital elements that have been accelerated and generated during the COVID crisis, and how to integrate it into one consistent business model.
So it sounds like really the ideal of kind of combining what we've learned over the last 15 months and then what we've done traditionally, right? So we can get on to a little bit about how that applies to events, but are there any other industries that leverage this kind of model that exist already?
Well, quite a few, Cameron, and well-known industries. And what they share is they have been all face-to-face mainly, traditionally, and they have developed all concepts on how to better integrate their digital offerings into their physical business model. And you see those models in retail, you see them in banking, for example, you see them in healthcare. And it all comes around to make the offering accessible whenever and wherever the customer wants.
So I can visualize how that would make sense in kind of a retail sense. It's kind of like the offering is available at the point of sale, but for events where traditionally, at least, it's been built around a 1 day or a 3 day event where it's a coming together of lots of different professionals, how does that omnichannel kind of translate?
Yeah. So think about what is the main function for exhibitors and visitors for an event. Exhibitors and visitors come to an event to network, to transact, or to learn. And the essence of omnichannel is how can you make those functions available whenever and wherever the exhibitors and visitors want? And how can you leverage physical touch points and digital touch points in a complementary way to make it as continuous and as compelling as possible? What we've seen in the last 50 years and the traditional business model of events is that you had an event which was taking place for, let's say, 3-4 days, and then there was not much interaction in between the whole year until the next event. And the omni-channel model should foster the engagement from the participants throughout the whole year, so they have a more continuous interaction with each other, with the event organizer, and they can really build a community which is active all year long and not only during the physical event.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, are there any specific events businesses that already do that? Is this a gap in the market? Is this kind of the next step? Or are there kind of, is a Reed, for example, already doing this?
Well, there are already organizers who are moving in this direction, and I read already the term omnichannel a couple of times in annual reports. And what they're essentially doing is, as I said, to offer the possibility to transact, to learn, and to network in a more continuous manner. However, a real integration of the two dimensions, of the physical and the digital, you haven't seen it yet in a really consequential manner. And for achieving such an integration, you actually also need to digitalize a bit your physical event, so that on the physical event, you have digital touch points, for example, that your online platform that you have all year long is accessible also through a smartphone app, for example, on the physical event, that they can matchmake the exhibitors and the visitors. And that also onboards all the physical exhibitors and visitors to the online platform and makes it more interesting for new exhibitors and visitors to join either purely online or also on the next physical event. So it really needs to be integrated so that you have a seamless transition between the physical and the digital.
It sounds like, it sounds like this is really the ideal for the next step in the events business, right? And that there is a slight gap in the market for doing it properly, but it always comes back to kind of the practical elements, right? So
Yes.
what are the kind of face-up challenges that would impact implementing the omni-channel method? So one thing I can think of is that coming out of the pandemic, a lot of events businesses will have to be more focused on their bottom line, right? Are they going to be able to invest this time into creating this method? So what is that a challenge? Is that the big challenge, or is there other things?
I think there are a couple of points, Cameron. So the first one is definitely, it's a big strategic transformation, which is not easy to undertake for a bigger company. I mean, now what you've seen is a lot of investments into digital, but actually they have to move from a more product-centric value proposition where your product, the trade show, was the main focus, towards a customer-centric value proposition where you center your business around what the customer needs, and the customer wants to interact and transact and network continuously. And the second one is definitely financial investments. I mean, building an online business model is costly. Building the digital infrastructure is costly. And a third important point is how to transform your sales and your pricing. And I think here it's not really something which needs to be done by trial and error, but you have to definitely know what your customer wants, and you have to understand what your customer expects from you. And this is really different from industry to industry. And what we always as JWC suggest to our clients is to actually measure what your customer wants. And there are methods for this to find out what is the perceived customer value of specific digital or physical elements, what are the elements that apply the best to the industry community. And once you measure this and you know what value those elements provide to the exhibitors and visitors, you can choose the elements which are best suited for an integrated and combined physical and online offering that you then can sell in a combined way and can price in a combined way. And that's the ultimate goal, that you don't have two distinct offerings, one digital, one physical, but you have one combined offering which integrates those two elements.
So it sounds like there's quite a defined kind of pathway to implementing the omnichannel method, but I guess as far as your research goes, at least, what is the timescale for widespread adoption?
I think the best timescale possible is as early as possible, because now is actually a good moment to implement it as the customers have seen the value of online interaction, which has not been the case before the crisis. But of course, it depends on your own financial resources, which are quite restrained now due to the crisis. And it also depends on the competitive pressure in the market. And are your competitors moving in this direction? And once they are moving in this direction, this will, of course, create a new dynamic, I would say. So it will be interesting to see when the first organizers get really serious about a new business model and transforming their traditional face-to-face business model centered around physical event towards this community catalyst business model, where you use online and physical interaction in order to deliver transacting, networking, and learning for your community. And that's going to be, I think, the key point. When are the first companies going to get serious about this, and are they successful? And I think if they're successful, you see a lot of other companies moving in this direction.
So as with any tech adoption, it's always about those kind of first adopters, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the first movers, and there's a risk to be the first mover, of course. And that's why companies are always a bit hesitant to be the first mover, because, of course, if it's successful, you have a little advantage, but if it's not successful, the others can learn from your try and make it better and make it maybe more cost efficient in the end. So it's an interesting dynamic to observe.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing what company makes the first leaf, I guess. As I mentioned at the beginning, and you obviously know this very well, you've done a lot of research into kind of the omnichannel method. Where can anyone who's watching this that might want to find out more, where can they find a bit more of your research?
We cover it quite extensively in the global annual industry performance review that we released a month ago. And we cover this topic, omnichannel, and also rush into virtual. Why is the situation now, in our view, quite different than how it was before the crisis? We cover this on 65 pages in this report. And once you buy this report, you also get access to, I think, 60-minute long webinar where we have talked already about this topic quite extensively. And I think it's a really good starting point to gain a deeper understanding what this model is all about and how it can help your company in order to leverage all your digital investments that have been undertaken now during the crisis.
Certainly, and for those of you who are interested, you can actually find a link to the Global Industry Performance Review on the Exhibition World website, which is exhibitionworld.co.uk, and there will just be a Global Industry Performance Review tab at the top. So if you do want to find out more, please visit there. That's actually all the time myself and Julien have for today. So thank you very much for joining me today, Julien.
Yeah, thanks, Cameron. It's been a pleasure to talk to you as always.
You took the words right out of my mouth. It's been an absolute pleasure, Julien. I hope you all have enjoyed listening to myself and Julien today. I've learned something about the omnichannel approach. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you all next time.
Yeah, see you, Cameron. Have a good day.